sometimes struggle to get up in the morning or wind down for bed at night? I used to find it so difficult. I woke up with no sense of positivity and brightness. I was void of motivation and spirit. This changed completely when I started waking up with a Lumi body clock. These incredible devices mimic the light and colour of a real sunrise and sunset, transforming the experience of waking up and going to sleep completely. Rather than being suddenly woken up with an alarm clock, the Lumi body clock will wake you up gradually with a natural sunrise. The Lumi body clock has been shown to improve the quality of sleep and awakening and to boost mood and productivity in clinical trials. You can personalise your sunrise and sunset from 15 to 90 minutes with their clinically tested unique natural light and more than 20 sleep and wake sounds. We all deserve to sleep well and to wake up feeling fresh. So if you're finding this a challenge and you want to try a new approach, go to lumi.com.
Jay, welcome back to the Greatest Music of All Time podcast.
Tom, it's a pleasure to see you, my brother.
Absolute pleasure to be here again in this amazing studio. So I wanted to start off by asking you, when was this built and what's the history behind it? Because this is an amazing place.
The studio that I had previous to this one is fairly close to here. When I bought this pad, I made sure there was enough land to build this building. It's a building built in a building. It's a real studio with floating floors. You know, the walls are like this thick, double doors everywhere, 3-pane glass for the control room. So everything's isolated. I really wanted a real studio, which is the reason I did it. And then in 1993 or 4, when the earthquake hit, thankfully I was in Japan and I hardly ever go anywhere. The place got trashed. So we had to gut it and redo everything, for better or worse.
So when was it originally built, if it got rebuilt?
It was built in 79.
Wow.
I bought the house in 79, and the first thing I did was to hire the contractor for the studio to get things moving. So I just stayed in my old house and in my old studio. It took about a year plus, whatever. And I got to say, man, it was a smart move because I always wanted my own room. And I get used to what it sounds like, the sonics of the room. I bought a Neve console in 88 or so, 87, I think it was. And then, of course, moved on to Pro Tools after tape was pretty much over. And, yeah, man, I love this room. Sorry about the mess.
The mess adds a certain charm, I would say.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I also, like, are you using this much to the extent at the moment of like clearing everything out and recording stuff in?
I wouldn't do a tracking date anymore here.
Yeah, it'd be pretty stressful, right?
I'm too old, man, to like grunt move, all this stuff, man, and to like find places for it. Because I'm now doing the YouTube educational channel coming up. As soon as I finish mixing this current Jar album, I've set everything up for video. So to break all this stuff down and then to get all the amps, stacked up on the sides, too much hassle. But so no more tracking dates. I'd do them somewhere else if I did. And mostly it's machines anyway these days, man.
Yeah, well, it's a great shame. That's why the records don't sound so good anymore. Well, in my view anyway. So if you made this, built this in the late 70s,
yeah,
I mean, it kind of shows you how great the music industry was back then. Do you get nostalgic at all for those days? Like just in the sense of like how valued musicians were back then in comparison to now?
Man, it's a whole other ball game. It's definitely another ball game. I'd say 73 through about 86 was the prime era of quality music. That's when the studio musicians were peaked as far as, well, I got to back up on that and I will in a second. But anyway, it was like 73 through about 86. And then came rap and free music, and nothing against rap. Everybody's got their groove. Things move on. Drum machines, samplers, sequencers, all that. That was still in my era, starting around the early 80s. But anyway, that became the main event. Electric guitar kind of went away on pop records. But I do get nostalgic for the good music. And lately, because I'm working on a guitar book, and one of the things the guitar book is going to have in it is 1,000 rhythm guitar patterns, because guitar has come back to pop radio.
What's an example of that?
Oh, man, I don't know the titles. I don't know the titles, but they're back. I do listen to pop radio.
Well, like what type of guitar? Like in
rhythm,
rock music, or rhythm in like
pop,
disco stuff,
pop
stuff.
Yeah, pop radio guitar has come back, and even chord changes. Like in the beginning of the rap and what the pop bands were doing, it got real simple again. When I reflect back to our era, when I was first called studio musician, then producer and writer and so on. You know, chord changes were a big part of what we did, and we used hip chord changes and got away with it. You know, the After the Love Has Gone, there's a million chord changes in the song, but the melody's memorable, and that's the key.
But they don't sound complicated chords to the listener, even though they're super complicated chords, right?
Very.
But if you could you have done that song with just kind of triad chords or whatever?
No.
It wouldn't sound good.
No, it's delicious, man. Major seventh chords are beautiful sounding chords.
But could you put that melody over just normal chords?
No way.
No way.
It would sound corny.
Terrible. It would sound really corny.
It really would. It would sound corny. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. It's the melody and the lyric that sells it.
Is there a key change?
Yes.
So there's the verse, and then there's a key change, modulates up.
Yes. There's three.
And then is there another key change after? Yeah. I remember us talking about this on a previous podcast.
There's 3 versions of the song. There's the very first one that was released was the Earth, Wind, and Fire. Actually, Airplay wasn't released before the Earth, Wind, and Fire version was. The Airplay version, I think, I might be wrong about this, but the Airplay version only did well in parts of Europe, Scandinavia especially, and Japan, really well in Japan.
And there's the best version of the song, of course, which is the J. Graydon.
That's the
Bill
one.
Champlin.
Yes.
That's the best version.
Well, why is it?
Do you know that version, Nick?
Do you remember why it is?
Why it is?
There's one key.
I think it's because I actually think Bill Champlin sings it better than the Earth, Wind, and Fire guys, even though they're amazing
Believe
singers.
me, they are amazing.
But just his voice really suits it. It's kind of nice to just have one person singing it rather than have it Maurice White, then switching to Philip Bailey in the chorus. I think, yeah, maybe is that why you would say, or is it the production and the solo?
No, here's the key reason. Nobody knows the real melody unless they listen to either the Airplay version or Airplay for the Planet version, which is my version. And what's happening in the Earth, Wind, and Fire version, in the choruses, Philip's singing the harmony part, right? A high harmony part. And it's so loud in the mix, it's louder than the lead vocal, so people think that's the melody. It's impossible for somebody to sing that in full voice all the way through the tune if they're singing the melody part in the chorus, thinking it's the melody. It's not. The melody is the third below it. And to make sure everybody knows that, how about we play it?
Yeah, let's play it. Let's play it.
Yes, let's do it.
Of course we can, Jay. There it is. It's at the top. Jay, you're going past it. Go up.
Now I can't remember what I'm looking for. Yeah.
No. Yeah. There we go.
Good call. You're looking at that when I'm doing stupid bunghole jokes, right? Okay, let's listen to the After the Love Is Gone, my version from J. Graydon, Airplay for the Planet. That's available at my website, www.jgraydon.com. that you see now on the screen, right, Tom?
Yep, that's right, Jay. This is actually a very good album.
You got to spell it right, man. Nobody's
Fantastic album.
It is. Thank you. It's loaded with great singers. I didn't sing in this album. I wanted to do an album with just great singers. And
Roxanne as well. We have to play Roxanne.
Oh, Warren Weeby, man.
The great Warren Weeby.
Warren Weeby, God rest his soul.
We're doing a cover of that song, Roxanne.
You should.
We've already recorded.
Excellent.
So
now, there's some hip chord changes in there.
Very, very good.
Yeah. Bill Cantos and I wrote it.
There's a guy playing keys who's a bit of a jazzer.
He should be for this
tune.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it MIDI'd or are you playing it for real? MIDI's, everybody uses
the keys are MIDI.
Yeah. MIDI. Did you quantize it or did you just kind of let it be normal? Let it be like live or do you?
I'm not sure whether it was quantized or not.
Real drummer? That's good.
I don't like making records with fake drums.
I get it. Did you record live with the drummer?
No. The keys were recorded to the drums. First there was a basic track built to program drums. Then they put the real drums. Then they redid the keys to the drums.
That's exactly the right way to do it. And you want to know why?
Well, the key part would be just a bit out of sync if it was done.
Here's the reason. Let's say you make a record with all machines, right? A lot of guys I know put real drums on last. To me, that's foolish. I've tried to do this and it just doesn't work for me. When you've done a track with drum machines, like if I'm playing rhythm guitar with a drum machine, I'm going to tilt the groove a little bit. If the hi-hat's playing eighths and it's not outlining a little bit of the swing, if it was like more of a triplet feel or a shuffle feel or whatever, I'm going to play a little bit of, that's kind of confusing. Let me back up. With a drum machine, if it's mostly playing eighths and I'm going to play a 16th rhythm pattern, I'm going to swing it a little bit, right? So, and the keyboard player is going to probably do the same. But we work it out with the drum machine so it feels right and it doesn't sound, it's tight, but it's humanly happening by the tiny bit of swing that I'll put in the rhythm guitar part, what the piano player's doing, what the bass player's doing. Now, when you try to put real drums on that, it was all done with the drum machine to make the drum machine feel better, make the whole track feel alive. If the drummer is not going to be quantized, what he's going to play is now something we didn't play with. It just never sounds right to me when you add the drums last. I like your method. Good way to do it is put together a MIDI version of it, but don't let the MIDI be totally quantized. Make it feel good, and then give the drummer the click, and then he's listening to those instruments. Now you can replace the instruments for real, but at least he had a melodic guide. Another thing to do is just bring down the melodic guide just so the drummer hears the tune, crank up the click, let him play with the click, and not so much worry about the time of what's on the demo version. Now you go back, you put the keyboard on, you put the bass on, and the guitar. That's the order I would do it in. And anyway, take it or leave it. All right, let's play After the Love Has Gone. There's two titles to the song. Originally, it was After the Love Is Gone, and Maurice grammatically corrected it because it should be has. I'm not an English scholar, but I've been told by people that are that it's has is better. It makes more sense. Anyway, the only version that is entitled Is Gone is the Airplay version. Since then, it's been Has Gone. And here is the version of After the Love Has Gone.
All we could do. We were young and new, and your eyes were alive. Deep inside, we knew our love was true for a while. no mind to the past. We knew love would last every night. Something right would invite us to begin the dance. Something happened along the way. What used to be happy is sad. Something happened along the way, and yesterday was all that we had. Oh, after the love is gone, how could you leave me on and not let me stay around? Oh, after the love is gone,
See the melody.
used to be right is wrong. To love it was all we found. For a while, to love each other was all we would ever need. Love was strong for so long. We never knew that what was wrong wasn't right. We tried to find what we had, but sadness was all that we shared. We were scared our affair would tear our love in two. Something happened along the way. What used to be happy was sad.
Was this done before
Something
live?
happened along the way. Yesterday was all that we had. And oh, after the love is gone, how could you leave me on and not let me stay around? Oh, after the love is gone, what used to be right is wrong. The love that was lost is be found.
I play guitar these days when somebody hires me to play a solo. And then I got to practice for a couple of weeks, even before I'll get even close to where I was. I'm still maybe at 70% at best. For example, I recently had to play the Twilight Zone solo again for the Manhattan Transfer, because they just did an album with the German concert band. they have an orchestra too, but I think it was the concert band, but not like a marching band kind of thing. So as to guitar, I don't play much anymore because there's just no time. Doing maintenance in the studio, getting all this video stuff set up, learning how to use all these programs for the YouTube channel that's coming up that I'm doing. You know, OBS, I've spent a week using OBS to try to get 3 different computers happy. And it's just a pain in the ass. So, you know, you got to go hunting around on the internet and half the answers are wrong. And anyway, all this time consuming stuff. But I never thought paperwork would really take over time consuming. Not just the royalty issue that I'll talk about in a second, but just the fact that like everything is online now. You know, you got to download something, you got to read it, you got to sign it, you got to scan, upload it. Yeah, there's just so much stuff to always do because everybody now is automated. So that just eats up so much time. And now about royalties. I first thought when I started producing records that the hard part was the producing. And I was wrong. The hard part's getting paid royalties. The record company can easily lose you in the system every time they change their system, like Warner Brothers changed their system about 12 years ago. And then a couple of years after that happened, I noticed the Giro royalties, you know, I did 4.5 albums with him and he still sells catalog because the stuff was good, I think. At least it's selling.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. Some of that stuff's good. Anyway, so it took me 10 years to find a lawyer at Warner Brothers that wasn't just a Warner Brothers puppet. And he finally got down to the bottom of it and found that when they changed systems 10 years ago, I got lost in the shuffle. So all those monies were going into the black box, and they want to keep those monies. When somebody moves, for example, if I moved and they try to contact me and they mailed them my old address and there wasn't a forwarded address, they're not going to try. They're done. You know, they won't contact ASCAP to see what my current information is. They don't care. More money for them. So after it was finally taken care of, big money started rolling in. And I've been doing this forever with royalties. For example, a record company like Warner's, I'm not putting down Warner's. Believe me, I loved working for Warner's, with Warner's, because 3 of my really good friends were in charge. Mo Austin, Lenny Warnaker, and Mike Austin knew how to run the business side well. So where was I going with this?
Chasing up the royalties.
Right. So, in the case of Giro, Warner's has a company called Rhino. The whole Warner Brothers music group consists of Warner Brothers Records, Atlantic Records, Rhino, and a couple of other labels. So when the Giro stuff transferred to Rhino, that was another place I got lost because they don't look at the producer's agreement. They never go out of their way to find out anything about the producer. And it's up to me to chase it. So I found out Rhino got it. But before Rhino got the license to release and sell, it was another company based out of Britain somewhere, of all things. I can't remember the name of the company, but I had to find it, spend a year chasing them down, finally get the bread. Then that licensing deal was up. Then it went to Rhino. And with the Manhattan transfer, it's gone through 3 iterations. They're now with Concord. Every time I find out by accident, and I have to go chase the money. So if any of you become record producers and successful ones, you're going to have to chase the money. You're going to have to stay on top of it. And you really should audit every 2 years. I can't believe I didn't ever do that. I really should start because royalties are getting better again. With Spotify and all these streaming companies, little by little, it's starting to add up. And this is the future. We know that. Spotify's a whole other story about how they screw us. You know, just look on the internet everywhere. It'll tell the details. what do we get per airplays? 0.0000432 or something like that.
But so with royalties now, is still physical sales quite important?
Hardly any physical sales.
Really? So what's it? Is it cumulatively from Apple Music, Spotify, all of the streaming companies?
Right. And I'm getting paid through different people that collect for different things. And then I have to chase all those companies, like Music Reports. That's a good company. Harry Fox collects my mechanicals forever. And Harry Fox split off to another company that collects for the Spotifys and the like. Amazon, Apple Music, Pandora. You know, I see all these lists. A lot of it's chump change, but Amazon's getting better. Amazon does sell downloads and physical product. The good thing about vinyl is that's starting to help physical product again. CDs are basically gone. It's downloads or vinyl for something you can hold in your hand. And I was always wondering why people wouldn't bitch and go, I want to hold something in my hand. I want something. I just don't want the download. I want the album. A lot of people like, you know, reading the credits, the lyrics and all that. I know it's findable, but something physical. Why hasn't it shown up as flash drives yet? You know, buy an album, you get a flash drive. You go to the record store and, you know, that has vinyl. How come the digital versions aren't on flash drives? It seems pretty logical. You know, ones that can plug in your iPhone, you get all the adapters with it, 3 adapters, you know, for the iPhone jack, the USB 3, the new little mini plugs, USB 2 and 3 with the slightly larger plugs. What am I missing here? Has anybody brought this up?
Yeah, I think some people have suggested it, but I don't know why it's never really kind of taken off.
Huh.
It's a mystery to me. But in terms of the business side of things, that just takes up kind of
eats up so much time. Even though I've got an outstanding PA, Kerstin Olsen, who runs my site out of Umeå, Sweden, of all places. She's on top of everything. I wish I could just let her do everything. I can't walk away from it because she has to know details from me. And even though over the 28 years we've been together, you'd think she'd have all the details. No, there's always more details I have to tell her about. It never stops. So there's just no time to play guitar while I'm doing all this. So back to the Manhattan Transfer and the Twilight Tone, Twilight Zone solo. This was a very difficult solo when I originally played it on the Mecca for Moderns or the Extensions album. I think it was the Extensions album. So I had to relearn it, and literally it took me a week to get the solo up to speed. I had to write it out. It was complicated. And then after that solo, here I go again. I don't touch the guitar for a couple of months. There's a guitar by the computer in the den. I'll pick it up and play a couple of licks, and you know, but it's kind of depressing, man. But what am I going to do? Am I going to sit around and practice? What am I going to do? Get a solo, 2-3 solos a year to play? There's no more record dates, you know. So,
well, I mean, you've already made as many records as you could possibly want to make and played on as many great records as you could possibly want to. So it's kind of like, you know. I
mean, I'm pretty much done.
You've done that.
And who knows, man? You know, maybe I'll get maybe in 6 months from now, after the YouTube channel gets going, maybe I'll decide to make another record. Who knows?
That would be great.
I'd like to, you know, as long as everything slows down and I'm actually watching Netflix or Hulu or Prime or Apple TV and go, I'm sick of this. I want to go play the guitar now.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure you will. But one thing I wanted to ask about, you know, in the same way that we've been through After the Love Is Gone, I wanted to go through another track from this album because we're putting together a cover of it, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it, how you made it, and the guitar solo and stuff, which was Roxanne. So if you want, maybe if you want to play that.
Let's do that. Back in the day when we recorded with analog tape machines, we didn't have any help. The only thing that we could do that you couldn't do in previous eras was punch in. Les Paul hit his second grand slam when he developed cell sync. And the way this works is the record head is also the playback head in sync mode. I won't get into all the details now. That'll all be on the YouTube channel. So if somebody did make a mistake on a tracking date, or we're doing a solo and we're playing a bunch of different versions of it or whatever, we had the ability to punch in. Okay, that's the only difference between that and the beginning of recording. Then comes the ADATs and Pro Tools. Well, that brings in the digital to analog and the analog to digital converter delay. All these recorders run through the converters. You have to convert from the analog signal, turn it into digital. Then from the digital, it's got to be returned back to analog before you hear it in your headphones or on your monitor speakers, okay? So there is always a delay. This is terrible for singers. And here's why. When you're singing, you're singing la, okay? Your head's vibrating at that frequency. Your bones in your heads are physically vibrating. When you hear that come back 2.1 milliseconds later, is the average of the delays from the converters, that vibrates your head bones to that pitch. Well, you already sang it. So you're fighting with the pitch that you sung, that you're hearing back while you're singing another note. There's just no excuse for having this delay. This converter delay can be easily gotten rid of. And that takes us back to the ADATs. I was Marcus Ryle, who created Line 6 and developed the ADATs first when he had another company. He hired me as a consultant and a beta tester because, as bright as he is, I have ideas that he may not think about. And my first reaction was, well, I understand how digital works, so there's going to be converter delay. Why don't we put a switch on it that allows the analog input to jump right to the analog output without the converters when you're in record mode? There's nothing to it. It's a simple relay. It jumps over the converters. No delay. No converter delay. Marcus says, great idea. And, and then when you go to playback, it has to go through the converters, but everything stays lined up. There's no problem with doing this. I told every company there is that makes digital recorders to please add this feature. Instead, they're trying to do these workarounds where you can use the TDM plugs that take up less delay time and blah, blah, blah. All they've got to do is put a damn relay in the converters. And the software in the unit that you're using, whatever your DAW is, Logic, whatever, to just jump over the A to D and D to A converters. I'm redundant here. I'm getting really redundant, but it's something that's just bugged me forever. So if everybody complained to these companies, they'd have to do it. And ironically, it would only cost maybe 20 cents a channel to do this. It's a simple soft switch and a simple relay. That's it. You just jump across, a little short wire, nothing to it. Now we'll get to what we're going to do. But one more thing before I forget. You can put this early up on if you want. When I walked in tonight and saw Tom, Debs, and Nick, I just thought of something. I had my hair tied back. I've been pulling it in a ponytail ever since COVID, right? Just because, and I quit getting it painted, I mean, when you got this thing on your chin, your neck, the turkey neck, I see guys with painted hair in all these bands, including a lot of good friends of mine like Luke. And I think Luke's going to finally stop doing it. He told me the other day, I'm getting sick of dyeing my hair. Well, I was dyeing my hair too. So here comes COVID, no haircuts because I didn't want to possibly get it exposed, and no more dye jobs. So I just let it grow until it was long enough to pull back and put in a ponytail. So I walk in and I see the three and I say, just for the hell of it, I pulled the hair thing off. Said, by any chance, you guys want me to do it with the long hair version? I haven't done that. Everything I've been doing, interview-wise, which I've been doing a ton, has all been pulled back. So a lot of you probably don't even recognize me. But in any case, I always had this long, thick, straight hair, and it was starting to get curly anyway. So the only way around that was to grow it long. Anyway, this is my debut of back to the 60s with the long hair, hippie stuff, patchouli oil, wooden shoes. I'm not coming up with any good jokes here. Too bad. Hey, man, I never told you I was normal.
No.
Yeah, right.
You'd have been.
Well, I got to tell you.
You'd have been right.
When,
This is normal banter.
right.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, with all my studio musician buddies, especially with Luke, I mean, and still with Luke, the humor gets so outside, man. We'd be laughing our ass off. That reminds me of a story. You're going to love this one. It was the end of a date, and I think it was for Juice Newton. And we were at, what's the name of the studio? God, I can't remember anything. Doesn't matter. Okay. So it was Foster, Jeff, Luke, Jerry Chef playing bass, maybe Hungate. I had I used to work 4 dates a day, 10 to 2, 2 to 5, and 10 to 1 hour break for lunch, 2 to 5, and then 7 to 1 in the morning. This was a typical day. Thank God there was so much work, man. And for a guitar player, even more because of solos and other parts, So I made the mistake of telling the guys, I got to get out of here, man. I got a 7 o'clock and I want to have time to go eat. And that's where I blew it. Because the second I told them that, nobody had night dates except for me that night. So the last song, we've got 15 minutes to record it. And it's this written out finger part thing in 12/8. So I'm reading the thing, and all of a sudden I see Jeff and Luke come over, and they're throwing matchbooks at my guitar strings. We're recording because they don't have to come in for like 16 bars. And so, stop the tape, right? Okay, really funny, guys. Yeah. Okay, so we do it again. So I'm playing the part and reading the part, and then bing, bang, bang, stuff's bouncing off my strings that they're throwing at me, right? I go, guys, please, just give me a break. No more, okay? Please. So I don't need to look at the chart now until I come in because now I've got the part memorized. So I look down, and right at bar, I think it was 17, the band would come in, and Luke knows when I'm going to look up. But what I didn't know is he took his pants off and he went to the side of the gobo where I couldn't see him, and he snuck around like this. And the second I look up, he sticks his ass this far from my nose. And I look up and I see this hairy bunghole right in front of my face. I was laughing so hard, man. I fell off my chair, man. For 10 minutes, literally, we were all dying. And the producer and the artist are getting pissed off, right? Because now we're in overtime, right? That's Luke. Oh, man, I love him, man. Like a real brother, man. Such a great guy and great player.
Yeah, fantastic player.
Yes. Bill Cantos and I wrote together a lot. And I don't know if we had a reason for writing this tune at the time, but for whatever reason, we wrote it. And I think one of my ex-girlfriends wrote part of the lyric, Valerie. Probably. I'd have to look. And it was a great song. I thought it was a great song. We did a good job. And when I recorded my solo album, the Jay Graydon Airplay for the Planet album, I told Bill, I said, let's do this tune. I think it'd be good for the record. And let's get Warren Wiebe to sing it. Even though Bill's a great singer, he really is. I said, let's get Warren, man. His voice is ear candy. And Warren was such a great guy. Sadly, he had some issues in his family where there was depression and suicides. Oh God. And sadly, that's what took Warren out. He went off his meds. I used to beg him, don't go off your meds, man. He says, I feel terrible. They make me weird. I go, but man, you may do some bad things. Anyway, so we cut the track and we had Warren sing it. And when I played the guitar solo, I remember that the Japanese, this album was to be released in Japan first. And the Japanese think that when they hire you, it's like making widgets. You have this time frame and you got to be done. You know, they expect it by this date. You know, I don't work that way, man. It's right until I work on it until I'm happy with it. So I was in the middle of the guitar solo and I get a call from Japan from this chick that works at another company. And because I already postponed the release date like twice. And I said, look, we're not making widgets here. I explained it. I said, all I got to do is finish this solo and then mix it. So it's going to be another couple of weeks. And she starts screaming at me. And I don't do well with people screaming at me, especially some chick that's not even directly involved in the project. You know, the record company knew she knew me. She was a publisher or whatever. Needless to say, I went left. That was the wrong thing to do. I got back to playing the solo. I had to get it done because I was booking my studio out at the same time to some other people, friends here and there. And I really had to get it done. And I remember hurrying through it. And I go, God, I hope the back part that I punched in is good enough. Well, when I was mixing, it was good enough. It's actually pretty good. So let's listen to the song. Enough of that.
It's down to this.
Beautiful voice.
Your bag's all packed, you're at the door.
Want another one?
Girl, how sad it is. You're telling me it's over. Words don't come in an easy way.
Watch out for the flame.
Now we're face to face. And all that I can say is God sad. Now go.
That sound.
Every time you're working out, isn't that what love's about? Roxanne, I know.
Is that extra
I've
piece got somebody else having to try it out?
if you tell me I'm
Really nice keys.
baby, won't you sing? So you're serious. You just don't feel it anymore. Baby, look at us. We used to have forever. There's got to be a way to your heart, to your heart. Roxanne, don't go. If we try and work it out, isn't that what love's about? Roxanne, I know that I'd be a broken man if you leave now. Roxanne, don't go. If we try and work it out, isn't that what love's about? Roxanne, I know that I'd be a broken man if you turn me away. Roxanne, girl, don't you go. You're just so serious. Baby, look at us. Roxanne, you don't feel it anymore. Oh no, don't tell me it's over. Roxanne, baby, don't you go. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no.
That is a stone cold classic.
Warren Weeby sounds great.
So,
God, is he a good singer?
how long did that take to make?
That was pretty painless. That was easy. Once again, I programmed the drums, but I try to make them sound real. You know, the piano.
There are loads of layers there with the keys.
Yes, that sound you were asking about. The first time you brought it up was in the first chorus, but I hardly hear it. What's happening in the fade, it's the same sound. It's one of my, many old synths, and it's got kind of a woody attack on it, but it's kind of a bell-like sound.
Mm.
It's got a strong attack, but a nice belly thing after it, with it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If you're looking for that sound, do I have this digitally? I'll look, and if I can solo it, if you're looking for that sound, I can try to figure out what it is.
Well, we can get your opinion on whether we've got it right, because it's it's completely faithful to that. So, as in, if we've managed to replicate it,
yeah,
because we're just trying to reproduce it, because it's just a fun task to do.
Yeah,
it's a very well made record. Although we've got a real drummer playing on it.
Well, you should. And you did it the same way, right? You recorded guide stuff. Let the drummer play. Did you use a click with the drummer? Oh, this brings up another point. Back in the day, when we were doing record dates, we recorded with a click half the time. The other half of the time, like on the Airplay album, no click. And
well,
the funny
when
thing,
you have a good drummer,
right,
really good, like Nigel,
God, I miss him. I haven't seen him in so long. He's such a good guy.
He plays with no click, never with any click.
He's fine, right? And it really does something to the drummer, man. When the drummer's got to play with a click, some guys are really good at it, like Vinnie Caliuta. Dean says that when he's been doing record dates with him, the last few years or whatever, Vinny's gotten so good, you don't even hear the click. It just cancels out when he's playing the kick on one and the backbeat on two, kick three, backbeat four. Anyway, what I should have done years ago, and I just didn't think of this until the other day, there should have been two separate cue mixes. One for the drummer and one for the rest of the musicians. We, the musicians, should never hear the click except for the drummer, unless there's a hole. If there's like a whole note, like an After the Love Is Gone, before the chorus starts, if the drummer's not playing tick, 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 tick on the hat, we should all hear the click there. So I should have copied the click to another track just for those spots. Because when you're listening with a click and you're trying to play with a drummer at the same time, who do you go with? What if the drummer's fill's laid back? We can hear it's laid back, and we can hear the click's going to be a little in front. Do we go with the drummer's kick on the downbeat? Do we just concentrate on the drummer, or do we concentrate on the click? Thankfully, all the drummers were so good, it was really not a problem. But still, it would have been better if we just listened to the drums, the rest of us. Really would have made more sense. So anyway, that's the click bit.
What about the solo, guitar solo?
It's better than I thought it was. I haven't heard it in years. That guy's good. Yeah, I did a good job on that. Believe me, I'll tell you when I don't think I did.
How many takes would you have taken to do that guitar solo?
I was playing at that time around then. I was playing a lot.
Was that recorded around the time when you were touring as well, a little bit as well?
No, we were touring right after that. And
Did you play that live?
Yes. I think I learned the solo. I liked it. I liked it enough to learn it. I think I did. I'd have to go back and check the live tapes. What was I going to say? I probably did 3 passes, and I probably either put the thing together from 3 passes, or I may have punched for the last lick. I think when that phone call came, I think it was right before the last lick. And I had to play something I liked. Nothing was preconceived. So fortunately I got it within I think I had an hour. And after that phone call, man, I was like, yeah. The last thing you think you want to, you don't want to play guitar. You don't want to do anything except have a few beers. Mm-hmm. But no, I just put the guitar hat on and got through it. So yeah, good tune.
Yeah, it's an amazing record.
What else on that album do you like?
All of the tracks are amazing.
You know what? Let me play you something from the Jar album. I think you'll dig this. A ballad.
Why not? Yeah.
Delicious ballad. Now, I don't consider Randy Goodrum. Randy Goodrum was my partner on the record. We did everything. We wrote all the stuff, played all the stuff. Randy's a great keyboard player. And he's a great drum programmer. He's better than I am at it. And then, I would tweak some of the stuff. And the tracks the songwriting was easy for some reason. We nailed these things. And some of these songs are complex. And also, Randy is a great lyricist. And we would come up with interesting ideas for songs by accident. For example, at the time, I was with this ex-girlfriend from hell, and her lawyer was the worst lawyer I've ever dealt with on an opposite side. The cat was mean. He was just terrible. So we were talking about how bad lawyers are, how bad they can be, and slime bags and all that. And that song is called Esquire, because all lawyers use ESQ at the end of their names, right? Maybe we'll play some of that in a minute too. But I think this ballad is one of the best songs Randy and I have ever written. And I remember how it started. I said, Rand, we never start a song in B major. Nobody ever plays in the key of B except for Stevie Wonder, because there are a lot of black notes, and he likes the black note keys. Probably just because, but it doesn't matter. Stevie can play anything in any key. He just seems to write in those keys a lot. So we started in B majors. The first chord's B major 7/9. Okay, that was the only preconceived we had going into it. And then it was okay, we're both taking turns coming up with sections. Randy go, that's not as good. I think I can make that better. Go ahead, Rand. And he play along for a while, and he'd get another area. And I got an idea here. Let me try this, and so on. And here's the ballad, and it's called Worlds Apart. And there's a lot of hip chord changes in this too.
apart, like the stars above, light years in between them. They join heart to heart, they long to be in each other's arms. How can it be when their worlds are apart? Worlds apart, 1,000 years of cold tradition separate them. They're joined heart to heart, they need to be in each other's arms. Love set free from its captive jar. How can it be when their worlds are apart?
That's a beautiful song.
Yeah, that's an amazing record. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so this song is about a slime bag lawyer. And once again, Randy wrote a great lyric. And if you haven't heard the Jar album, if you want the best of what I've done guitar-wise, this is probably where I peak. There's some good solos on these tunes and some good parts, I humbly say. You're the judge of that, not me. All right, here we go. Esquire. I'm singing part of this, I think. Randy's singing part of it.
Born as a human, innocence and light, until the age of 5. Loved all the movies where the bad guys win. Now he lives the life. A handshake that feels like you're holding a fish. He's got a summer place on the river Styx. He's shifty and crafty and evil as sin. If he knocks on your door, don't let him in. He's richer than Mars, believes in no cause. He's lower than all the underworld. The prince of my darkness, the king of all lies. First name, last name, comma, Esquire. Talks for a living with his forked tongue. 1-800 sleep. A condo in Fiji for ex-wife so far. got to justify his fees. Hide your pets, lock your windows and doors, or pack a bag and push the gas to the floor. One day, wipe on his face, and the next thing you know, you'll be sending him checks forevermore. He's richer than bars, believes in no cause. He's lower than all the underworld. The prince of my darkness, the king of our lives. First name, last name, comma, Esquire. I only wanted someone to plead my cause. How was I to know he was a bottom feeding scumbag after all? Prince of my darkness, the king of our lives. First name, last name, comma, Esquire.
Ready for a change. Everything's gonna change. Okay.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on the Greatest Music of All Time podcast again. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show. You are truly one of the greats, and you have
No, stop, Tom, please. No.
you have
please,
some good banter as well.
I had fun.
Thank you for the dick jokes. They're even better than your guitar playing.
I really had fun, man. This is the most fun I think I've ever had doing a podcast.
Awesome.
This has just been a ball, man. And I hope everybody digs it, and I hope there's enough educational material there too. And, you know, check out the Jar album if you haven't heard it.